Your qualifier is going to tell you again whether it's high or low dose, whether it's other anti-neoplastic. So you can see you're in that 3EO there. 3EO for immunotherapy or chemotherapy. That paragraph underneath the example they give you just identifies some of the immunotherapy agents. That bacil calmette-guerin, I'm sure that's how they say it. Interferon or IL-2, and the IL-2 can be high dose or low dose. When you see those, they're talking about immunotherapy. And then that last paragraph is talking about when they have brain cancer, a tumor in the brain, and they want to give them chemo. Oftentimes they can't get enough of the chemo in there because of the blood-brain barrier that protects your brain from toxins and all. So they have figured out that they have to get in there and disrupt the blood-brain barrier so they can get that chemo straight to the tumor. So your principal diagnosis in that case is still the chemotherapy. It doesn't matter that they have to go through the blood-brain barrier if they're being admitted for chemo. So it'll still be that Z51.11. But if you look on the next page, you'll see it's basically going to be two codes. And the first code is going to say that they had to break that blood-brain barrier. So again, that's going to be under administration. So you're in your 3EO. More than likely, it's always going to be the central vein because you're going into the brain. So I can't think of a time when it'd be peripheral. Could be percutaneous or open. And then notice the substance change. Now the substance is other therapeutic substance. And the qualifier is what tells you it's the blood-brain barrier disruption. Then you'll have another code for the chemo. Or the immunotherapy or whatever they're giving them. Okay. So two codes if they have to break through that. The next thing it talks about is the Viadur, which is an implant that they give to men with advanced prostate cancer. It's really palliative treatment, and it's a hormone. It's that leuprolide acetate that they're given. It makes them loopy, if you thought they weren't already loopy. No. Okay, so the way they do that is they implant that into the subcutaneous tissue of the arm. Okay, so again, that's going to be introduction of a substance into the subcutaneous tissue. This time the substance is a hormone. Okay, and in that case, the principal diagnosis is the cancer. It's not chemotherapy, it's not immunotherapy, it's hormonal therapy. Okay, so 3EO13VJ. Questions about that?
You said the prostate cancer would be coded first?
Yes. Yeah, that's all you'll have. I mean, unless they got something else going on. That's your only diagnosis code. Then you'll have the procedure code. Bottom half of the page is about radiation therapy. Radiation therapy codes out to section D. So let's go look at D in our PCS book. Okay, so if you're on page 646, it's where it gives kind of all your options on the tables. So you can see, again, the section is radiation therapy. That codes with a D. The second thing is going to be your body systems. So you can see you've got central and peripheral nervous, lymphatic, gastro, respiratory. You've got all your body systems or anatomical regions. The modality, you're going to have to check that out. Most of the time you're going to be in beam radiation. That's, where they're doing normal radiation therapy. So that's where you'll probably be most of the time. Brachytherapy, remember I told you, is the seeding. So, and then stereotactic radiosurgery, that's where they're doing like gamma knife radiation that you see advertised on TV and stuff.
Cyberknife.
Cyberknife. And then a lot of times with, if they have to do it to the head, remember they have to place that head frame. So that actually codes out in the placement section under immobilization. So they go in, they put on that head frame to hold them still. And you'll find that under immobilization, ed. And then I think it's other device or something, but you'll see. And then other radiation could be different things. The one example they give you in here is that LITT, L-I-T-T, which is laser initial thermal therapy. Okay, so beam is the common one where we're just shooting radiation at your breast or your, whatever, prostate, back, maybe bone cancer. We're shooting some of the parts of the bones. Okay, brachy is the one that we're implanting. And stereotactic is much more focused. Okay. All right, then you can see that next is the treatment site. So exactly where did we administer the radiation? And then you'll have some modality qualifiers. So like if you're given beam radiation, we're going to want to know the megavoltage. Okay. If you're doing brachytherapy, you might get into high dose and low dose. Down here at the bottom, you got your stereotactic. Is it particulate radiosurgery, beam? Then down at the very bottom, you got that laser interstitial thermal therapy. Then the next column is if they're using isotopes. And lastly then, the qualifier, really all you've got to pick from is intraoperative or none. Okay. So that's how you're going to code out the radiation therapy. Again, most of the time you're going to be in beam. If you look up radiation therapy, it'll tell you see beam, see brachy, see stereotactic. Okay, under thermal therapy, again we're talking about a heat source there. And what they're telling you is that they could apply the heat extracorporeal, which is outside the body, just like when we talked about extracorporeal circulation, it's outside the body. This would be applying heat outside the body. Okay? You could have extrastitial, which would be outside the tumor, and interstitial, which is inside the tumor. So what they're talking about here is laser interstitial thermal therapy. So they're putting heat from a laser directly into the tumor. Okay? And that classifies to radiation therapy, so it'll be a D. But the root type here is other. It's not your beam radiation, it's not brachytherapy, it's other. And then under character 5, under modality qualifier, remember we saw the LITT, which is value K. And that identifies it as the laser interstitial thermal treatment.